All right, Nick, let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. We've been talking about it for a while here. Everybody knows the glaring hole on this defense is the hole where Aaron Donald fit into this defense. We've talked about it ad nauseum. The Rams, I think, have done a great job either developing players to step up to the next level or drafting great players or pods of players to come in and take some of those reps as well. Obviously, we saw Kobe Turner. We saw Fiske coming into the mix as well. And speaking of Fiske, I think there's some really exciting news about this young player and exactly who he's learning from and who he is gravitating to help him take the reins of the center of the field of this Rams defensive line. Let's get into the article and talk more about it on the other side. This is from NBC Sports. It says, the Rams won't have Aaron Donald on their defensive line this season, but they still may be able to benefit from his experience. Donald announced his retirement in March, and as part of the team's plan to replace him at defensive tackle came into focus during the second day of the draft. That's when the Rams traded up to acquire a second-round pick they used to select Braden Fiske, who started at Florida State after transferring from Western Michigan last season. Fiske was never teammates with Donald, but he has spoken to the former Ram since joining the team and has plans to get some workouts in during the next couple of weeks before training camp. Fiske has one big lesson down before any meeting, however. He says, I just have to be me, Fiske said via DJ Siddiqui of Forbes. I have to build on my own legacy, and that's what I am looking forward to. I don't feel like I'm really filling shoes, but I have to create my own shoes. That's kind of what it is. I'm just excited to be a part of it, and I know that I'll kind of always be that comparison of who's going to fill his shoes, but somebody has to do it. Nick, I think this is great sentiment from Fiske because no one, quite frankly, is going to fill Aaron Donald's shoes. We've talked about three players who can potentially combine together to do that work, so I'm glad that Fiske has that mentality. I'm curious what your thoughts on this one are, but before we get to you, Nick, Rams fans, in the comment section below, we've talked about this. We've talked about defensive line. We've asked you who your favorite are. It's probably going to be Aaron Donald. So instead of that, I'm going to ask you, who was your favorite second-round pick from the Rams of all time? We're talking about Fiske, a second-round pick. Let us know who was your favorite Rams second-round pick of all time in the comment section below. While you're down there, check out our list of recommended NFL reading. Some great books down there. So check those in the description of below the video as well. But Nick, what are your thoughts on Fiske and Aaron Donald?
So I thought this was really interesting to me because when you have an all-time historically great player like Aaron Donald, they don't waste their time on younger players that don't live up to their expectations, right? Michael Jordan famously spent a lot of time communicating with Kobe Bryant because he recognized the potential and talent level that Kobe Bryant had. When you're all-time great, when you're GOAT status like Aaron Donald is, if you look at defensive tackles, Donald's the best defensive player in the last 20, 30 years, probably bar none. I think he's one of the best defensive players of all time. He's right up there with a guy like Lawrence Taylor. He would not waste any of his time with a player he did not feel like was up to snuff, a guy who could not become a quality player. To me, this is an indicator that Aaron Donald is incredibly impressed by Fiske. And that is obviously an outstanding sign for the future of this Los Angeles Rams team. Because like you said, that's a massive hole to try and replace. You will never, ever completely replace what Aaron Donald brought to this defense. But the fact that Donald himself is willing to spend the time and an effort to work with Fiske, to me, is a great indicator that Donald believes Fiske in his own right can become a great player for this Rams defense. And look, if there's anyone that knows interior defensive line play in the NFL, it's Aaron Donald, because as much as he was physically gifted, it was his intelligence, it was his tenacity, it was his drive, it was his want-to, it was his natural football playing ability on top of everything that kind of wrapped it all together that pushed him to be the great player that he was. And again, he would not look at a guy like Fiske and want to spend the time and effort with him if he didn't see a little of himself in Fiske, if he didn't see some of those other attributes in Fiske that he thinks could bring him out, that Aaron Donald, could bring out of Fiske to allow him to become a great player, again, in his own right. So to me, I think that is the biggest takeaway from this, is that Aaron Donald, one of the great defensive players in NFL history, has taken the time to work with a second-round draft pick who has not played a snap in the National Football League yet. That's a great sign, in my opinion, that Fiske is going to be a really nice player for the Rams, not just in 2024, but for a very long time as well.
Yeah, Nick, and when you talk about Fiske, you talk about what he's doing. I think it's so incredible because if we're being honest, level of play, maybe not championship caliber, but this is like a young second round quarterback coming and asking like Tom Brady. Like this is like them coming and say, hey, Brady, can I pick your brain? Can we do a couple workouts? Will you help me out here? Like you mentioned, the tenacity, the boldness, Fiske going up to Donald, being able to interact with him, getting to talk to him. Not only does that mean that Donald respects his game and likes what he sees, thinks he, has what it takes to be deserving of his tutelage, but Fiske having the boldness to be like, hey, I have the opportunity, I have a link through the team of one of the greatest players to ever play the game at my position. I can't not do that. And it sounds to me, Fiske is in his own right on the path to becoming a very good player as well, just because of his willingness to step out of his comfort zone, do something that a lot of people might be afraid to do, go talk to, one of those larger-than-life personalities, one of those larger-than-life characters on the field, and break that wall down and say, hey, I want some help from you. Will you give it to me? And look, the results speak for themselves. They're already going to work out. So I think we can expect some big things from Braden Fiske this season.